Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, as regular listeners will know, last year I spoke with the guys from Ontology on the podcast, which is a high-performance public blockchain specialising in decentralized identity and data. And this year, global attention has continued to focus on questions around privacy and data ownership right across the digital landscape. And I know this is one of the many missions that Ontology is set out to try and solve. And they have come such a long way since launching their Mainnet back in June 2018. It's a story I've been following very closely. And they've also recently lined up a number of big partnerships, from Daimler to Micro Workers, Binance Smart Chain, and many more. So today I've invited Gloria Wu to come on the podcast from Ontology to learn more about their ongoing mission, everything that they've been up to, put it all in a language that everybody understands, and equally we'll finish off with a few teasers for members of from the Ontology community. But enough waffling from me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to China so we can speak with Gloria Wu. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks, Neil, for the invitation. So my name is Gloria Wu. I work with Ontology Foundation, and I'm in charge of global ecosystem partnerships, basically trying to build partnerships and expand our ecosystem of communities in all the geographies in the world. Today, I'm basically talking to everyone from Asia, but we do have teams in Europe and US, as well as other communities basically around the world in Turkey and the Middle East, in Latin America, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, East Asia, Australia, basically all over the place.
And that has got to be one of the most important jobs in the industry. And it must be incredibly hard because the big talking point is we need more partnerships, we need more adoption, and communities are going to be demanding those updates of partnerships almost every day. And equally, you're going to be getting those partnerships and locked down to NDAs and can't talk about it. It must be incredibly difficult to find that right balance.
Yeah, because with certain aspects of projects, it's going fast, but with other aspects of the projects, it's going slow. So we definitely want to communicate a lot of progress with the community, but certain things just take time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I spoke with Eric from Ontology, I think it was exactly 1 year ago today. And for anyone listening that missed our first chat and could possibly hearing about Ontology for the very first time, can you tell me a little bit more about the kind of problems you're solving with your technology there?
Yeah, sure. So Ontology it's a public protocol with a very strong specialty in the decentralized identity and decentralized data exchange protocols. So these protocols are also now building for a cross-chain infrastructure, meaning that we can operate them on Ontology chain, but also on other ecosystems. We actually just built interoperability with Ethereum, with Binance Smart Chain, with Near, and with many partners in the network. And with this concentration on decentralized identity and data, we're also piloting different ways to drive end user adoption. So we're building products such as the Wing.Finance platform, which is basically a lending and borrowing platform. So one important innovation there is that next to the over-collateralized lending. We're also trying to figure out under-collateralized lending using certain credit elements based on the decentralized data associated with their identities. And on the other hand, we're still looking for different use scenarios in different industry verticals, such as NFT and online jobs, for example, or smart devices connections like IoT and this future of connected devices, and I guess self-sovereign data for smart homes or smart cars. Yeah, basically that's a lot of things that we're working on now.
And this year, the global attention has continued to focus on questions of privacy and data ownership within the digital sphere there. And you guys are on a mission to solve these issues and change the way data is managed and transferred. And as a result, Ontology is establishing itself as the platform of choice for developers, enterprises, and users alike. But can I ask that you share the mission and where you are on that mission right now?
Considering many of the audiences today are not so familiar with what blockchain can do, right? People probably have heard of Bitcoin, but what exactly is blockchain? So I have like a simple analogy. Basically, I also got it from some other experts and friends from the crypto world. So basically, in the current internet, so the Web 2 world, because there's no way to store a state of internet with the current technology. So service providers such as Google, Facebook, Amazon, eBay, Tencent, whatever, these big ones, or even emerging big players such as Uber or Airbnb is also being around for a very long time. So basically every single internet service providers, they store user data in their own server in order to provide services to the end users. And basically it's like everything about you, your preferences, your account information, and your browsing behaviors that indicate basically who you are, what you like, even personal information of your location or other stuff, they're basically all stored in centralized servers behind the doors in these big companies' data centers. So that represents a lot of problems. For one, there's security risks, being hacked or information are being leaked and causing a lot of damages financially as well. And second one is it's also not censorship resistant, right? So we all know that companies make deals with different types of authorities or with each other that they can, comply with different regulations or just to service certain things by providing the user data to other entities. And the third one is it's also kind of the way how internet companies make money, right? So the very simple one is that they charge a certain fee for their services, which sounds about right. But because the domination, a network effect in many of the sub-segments, they are charging disproportional service fee to actually for the service provision. And a lot of their income are also coming from targeted advertisement, which we're all very familiar with. That actually account for a huge amount of revenue for their balance sheet. So basically, this way how internet is structured is not necessarily the only way. So the Web3 concept is basically the internet is decentralized. There's no centralized servers for storing everybody's data. It's basically the data is stored by yourself either you sort of like scatter it and store it decentrally, or you save it on your own, trusted places. And the service providers will need to ask for your permission to access your data to do service provision. And once they have done such service provision, when it's finished, then they don't have access anymore to your data. And even for example, for research purposes, for the rare disease or for just scientific research, you can also monetize your data to some third-party, smaller companies or small organizations or nonprofits with their permission to access certain aspects of your data because of cryptographic technologies. You don't have to disclose a lot of details when you're helping them to know certain things. So we see that as a very important choice for our human societies to choose. You like a future where you're giving out more and more of who you are and your data to third-party service providers, or you want to take control of that and make sure anyone who accesses your data is within your knowledge, and you can manage it in a very convenient way. So this is basically the entire crypto world, blockchain world is trying to do. And we see that one of the most important things is that you have a decentralized identity that is associated with your data. So in this way, you can manage different profiles of yours, and you can manage the data access. So this is basically the problem we're trying to solve. If that's understandable for everyone, I can elaborate more.
No, absolutely. And we will have people listening from your community there, and we will have a lot of people that, like you said at the very beginning of your comments there, that only know about Bitcoin and nothing else. So just to try and bring to life everything that we're talking about today, are there any client stories or partnerships or use cases that you could possibly share that would just help people understand how it could work in their world?
Yeah, sure. So last year, we worked together with Daimler Mobility Blockchain Factory jointly on a minimum viable product model called Welcome Home. So it's basically a blockchain based operating system for people to customize, to use their data to customize the driving experience. So an example would be, for example, like in the future, probably you wouldn't really own a car because you're traveling all the time, and car maintenance is very costly and also takes time. And you probably use different types of cars for different purposes in your life, and it's very easy to just rent them. But how do you actually make that car customized to your own preferences? Then you need to have your personal data to be accessed by that car and its operating system to do that. And when you're inside of your car driving, you're also, you need to basically connect to different type of services as well. So consider the car as a smartphone, like a bigger version of a smartphone. You will have different apps connecting to different services. Since we cannot really revolutionize the phone infrastructure of internet, we can make sure that when the smart cars are introduced, the applications in the car are actually decentralized, meaning that, for example, for rental, for location services, for ordering a pizza or ordering in-car entertainment, right, or music services, all these things, you could have your data stored safely with your decentralized identity profile. And these service providers will be accessing them, provide service to you, such as delivering you a pizza while you're stopping at the gas station to take your refill. And without storing your data and customize your preferences wherever you go. So that would be, I would say, a pretty real life example that people can relate to.
And one of the other big news stories this year, of course, was Ontology partnered with Binance Smart Chain and adopted its decentralized identity solution for security tokenization offering projects. How successful is that partnership proving to be? And can you expand on there and what it means to you guys?
Yeah, it's a really good start. I think we're actually the first in the industry to pilot in this direction. So basically, what this identity solution does is that it creates a identity watermark for different ownership changes, while a virtual asset once a asset is tokenized into a virtual asset and is being traded in different financial vehicles and different financial products, there's always a traceable watermark to show who is the owner. So this is very important for future compliance reasons, because for financial transactions, we need to, for anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism funding purposes, we need to know who are buying these, who are owning these assets at every single time step. So the ontology, we call it trust anchor gateway tag services, just provides that functionality. It's physically an essential piece for STOs actually to take off in the crypto world.
Incredibly cool, it really is. And since our last interview 12 months ago, the Ontology ecosystem also seems to have grown. So what's your vision for the ecosystem looking forward?
We're seeing a lot of opportunities to bridge the crypto world identities with real world identities, right? For example, artists in NFT space, who they are, right? Do they have a track record in the artwork, and what's their background, what they have done previously with some of their work? These kind of informations are actually coming from many real world scenarios. So these are actually possible to be a source to create value for their work, for their NFTs, right? So that sort of information needs to be verified and channeled into the crypto NFT world. So this is something we see a lot of opportunities. The second one is more and more people are actually entering the workforce of decentralized work with regards to recent IT, such as data science or just simply like coding. Right? So they're doing all kinds of contributions, and they're building up like a lot of digital work experience that can be very important to be verifiable. So such track records build up, resume build up will be what we see as the future digital native citizens, how they actually prove their abilities and connections in the digital world. And definitely at the same time, we're closely looking at innovations in the DeFi world to see if there's any opportunities for identity to play a bigger role. So this is like the adoption user scenario side. And for the technology side, we see a lot of opportunity for interoperability to continue to scale, to have more collaboration with different entities and different organizations in the ecosystem. And there are actually a lot of good work happening in the direction of DAO voting, DAO governance, quadratic funding. I think these are all perfect scenarios for decentralized identity.
And I've also been reading a lot about staking recently. And for people thinking of jumping in, can you offer a quick overview on that and what you're offering at Ontology?
Sure. So folks can just log into ont.io. So that's the main website. And there's the node staking tab. You can click from there to see how different nodes are actually functioning in the ontology ecosystem, and many of those nodes actually open up quotas for people to have ONT and stake there and share the staking rewards. So currently, ONT staking basically rewards back in another token called ONG. So that's the network gas of ontology. The ONG price is doing pretty well. So I'm not going to disclose like exactly how much is going to be the yield annually, but this is like a dynamic number. But I would say it's a very good return compared with many of the available assets in the world. So yeah, whoever is interested can go there and check it out. It's also pretty easy to download ONTO, so the Onto wallet, to do the acquisition of the ONT token and staking inside of the app.
Would not be a blockchain or a crypto interview without asking about roadmaps. I'm sure you get this one a lot. So can you tell me a little bit more about what you're hoping to deliver within or by the end of this year?
We have some plans previously, but it's also dynamically changing. One important direction is to be more interoperable with the rest of the network. So currently we have built a bridge called Poly Network that can basically bridge the assets on Ontology chain with other chains such as Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain and others. But we are going to strengthen that by also building layer 2 related solutions to build like a closer interoperability with Ethereum. So that's a very important direction. Second one is with the DeFi. It's important that NFT assets and other types of assets have more flexible usage in the ecosystem. So this is a very innovative field, and we're playing around and trying different things, and we're considering new pools in Wing.Finance for that. And the third very important thing is building more SDK products for decentralized identity and data. So this we are currently already talking to a bunch of partners. Recently, we just announced our partnership with Rocky. So Rocky is a Los Angeles-based music streaming platform. So their mission is that the entire music industry is bullying the smaller artists by charging very big commission fee for making their music heard, right? Because they dominate the listeners' traffic. So how do you make the smaller artists, the long tail of the music industry's smaller artists, to be able to earn more from their own fan base, right? So there's a theory that 1,000 true fans can basically finance with their purchasing, with their listening to one artist. So that would encourage a lot of artists to be able to sustain themselves and be very independent with their pursuit. So Rocky is trying to do that via blockchain, and Ontology is partnering with them to make sure that these artists are verified and they have a very credible identity on the platform, so the community could trust. So that's something that we're working on, and more will definitely come from that direction.
I love that. And I'm a big fan of the 1,000 true fans theory as well. I think all too often in this digital age, everyone's chasing thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, but you get that 1,000 true fans, it can make a huge difference to your career. And I'm conscious, it really can. And I'm conscious, though, we will have people listening from all over the world that would have learned a lot about Ontology today, but there will be certain members of your community who are incredibly loyal, who've sat through the entire podcast in the only hope of hearing a teaser at the very end of the podcast. I appreciate you probably can't share much at all, but is there anything that excites you about the road ahead at Ontology?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing we're actually seeing, which is very interesting, is that I don't know if people have heard of this concept of metaverse, right?
Yes.
So we're seeing more and more a digitally native generation, and also a digital native world being built by this generation. So what they do every day is completely immersed in this virtual world, playing games, buying a land in Decentralized and building houses in Decentralized and creating interactive games and buying NFT digital arts and hanging on the walls of their houses in Decentraland. So it seems like what we were just experiencing in the Hollywood movie style scenarios are really coming true. This is something we've seen super exciting in the last couple of months. And that definitely will really create a parallel reality where people really enjoy to be very free and do whatever creative things they want, and having like an economy by themselves and having a society by themselves. Right? There's a lot of activities of people jointly funding public goods. That's good for the Web3 world. Funding different infrastructure projects, funding different exciting, interesting tools, making collective decisions as a DAO. So I think those are super exciting things. And I encourage everyone to explore the metaverse to get us.
I completely agree. I recently wrote an article on this about the metaverse. Incredibly exciting space. I first heard about it, I think Roblox and Epic Games are doing great work in there. But when the NVIDIA CEO stepped up, and I think he was talking about creating a virtual copy of the current world in its Omniverse 3D modeling software, completely blew my mind. I'm like, well, when am I going to get my haptic feedback suit and enter the Ready Player One kind of world? It's incredibly cool, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And one of the questions I always like to ask my guests on the podcast is, we learn all about you, your career, and all the great hard work you're doing, but what is the soundtrack to your life? Is there a particular song or piece of music that has inspired you in the past, or just helps you get your head in the zone before going on a podcast or delivering a keynote speech?
I think it's probably 2011, Eurovision. I was still working in Europe at that time. I remember surrounded by a lot of people from different countries. We were watching Eurovision together. And the winner's song of that year is one called Euphoria. It's super lovely.
Was that sweet? I'm going to embarrass myself here talking about Eurovision, yes. But was it the Swedish entry, if I remember rightly?
Yes, exactly. It's 2012. Not 2011. 2012 Eurovision winner, Lauren.
Man.
Yeah, Lauren's song.
Before I let you go, for anyone listening wanting to find out more about Ontology and maybe join your community or find out more information, what's the best place to start?
Well, you can definitely find a lot of updates on our Twitter and on our Medium and on the website as well. But recently, we've also, a couple months ago, we also started to host engaging events almost every week on Clubhouse. So if you're interested to come and talk to us, our team, have like live conversations, we'd love to have you there and answer any questions you have.
Excellent. Well, I'll have those links to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. And I've been following your journey for some time now, and having launched your Mainnet, I think it was back in June 2018, you've gone from strength to strength over the last 3 years and forging tangible partnerships across a myriad of industries. And in recent months, your products have endorsements to a variety of different partnerships as well, which we could talk about. We'll maybe have to get you back on to talk about those, but more than anything, just thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasure.
Although this is a tech podcast, I do love asking that personal question about music taste, and I get a different inspirational song from each and every guest, and today's was a wonderful surprise, and I must admit I've now got Euphoria playing on repeat in my head. That is an earworm that will take some shifting. But I cannot thank Gloria enough for coming on today, talking about ontology in a language that everyone can understand, and also discussing a lot of those big partnerships and news around the Binance Smart Chain that they partnered with. I think it was back in August last year. But if you're a member of the community, or you want to find out more, or you'd like to come on here and share your story, whatever it might be, please email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Get me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes. Keep your messages coming in. Each and every person listening to this podcast, I turn the virtual microphone over to you and invite you to come on here too. But have a great day wherever you are. Let there be a lot of green out there and not so much red. And crypto people will know all about that. So thanks for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.